Hi, thanks for joining us. So in today's video, we're going to discuss why veterinarians recommend desexing your dog or cat, whether they're a male or a female. Obviously, unless you want to breed from them. If you're going to breed from them, then obviously we can't desex them. Desexing, briefly to define it, is removing either the ovaries plus or minus the uterus in a female, and in males, it's removing the testicles. Now let's look at females. There are several health benefits to your female dog or cat by desexing them if you're not intending to breed. Every time a female dog or cat ovulates, that is, releases an egg, their risk of breast cancer increases. So the sex hormones involved in recruiting eggs and also involved in the ovulation process can affect the breast tissue. First of all, outline of the female reproductive cycle. Most dogs go through 2 ovulations a year on average. There are some breeds where it's once a year, but overall most of them do it twice a year and around about 6 months on average between cycles. Now female dogs are different to humans. They release blood-tinged liquid from their vulva on average 10 days before they're about to ovulate. So their uterus is actually getting ready for a pregnancy. There is a range. Female dogs may ovulate anywhere from 2 days after they produce the blood-tinged liquid up to 23 days after. So when they ovulate, the hormones involved in the ovulation process or recruiting eggs affects the breast tissue and increases the risk of breast cancer. So if I take 200 girl dogs who've not yet ovulated, so they haven't gone through puberty, if I desex those 200 before puberty, their risk of breast cancer in their lifetime is 1 in 200. Now, if I take another 200 females and I desex them after their first ovulation cycle, it's now increased to 16 out of the 200 dogs desexed at this point will develop breast cancer during their lifetime. If we go to the 3rd cycle, they ovulate for the 3rd time and we then desex those 200 females, the number is now approximately 50 out of 200 dogs will during their lifetime now get breast cancer because they've had 3 ovulation cycles. So if you look at that, that's an increase from 1 out of 200 to 1 out of 4. So you can see the benefit of your dog being desexed earlier and preferably before puberty. Now there are 2 types of breast cancer. One is what they call benign breast cancer. That's where the tumours just grow in the breast tissue, and if you operate and you're able to remove all the tumour, that should be the end of the breast cancer. That's half the dogs who get breast cancer. Now the other half who get breast cancer, their breast cancer is termed malignant or metastatic, and what that means is little pieces of the breast tumour or cells can wander off through the bloodstream or the lymphatic system and start growing as a tumour elsewhere in the body. And the common areas are in the lungs or the liver or the spleen. Now these breast cancers are a lot harder to cure and may not be curable and can result in your dog's death. So look, if your female dog's not desexed or if she was desexed later than before puberty, if you imagine the nipples sort of down the underside of the body and you drew a line between each nipple, then it would be recommended to every month have a feel along that nipple and along that line to see whether you can feel any lumps or bumps that weren't there a month earlier when you last checked. If you find that's the case, take your dog to your vet, get them checked, and then your veterinarian can advise you whether you should have the dog have a surgical procedure or whether they might want to do a fine needle aspirate. Okay, so that's breast cancer risk. Just briefly on cats, female cats who get breast cancer, they get the nastier malignant or metastatic cancer on average 8 out of 10 times when they get breast cancer. So it's even more aggressive if a cat gets breast cancer. So again, if you're not going to breed your cat, desex them before they go through puberty, or if you're going to breed them, as soon as you've finished breeding them, then get them desexed after discussing it with your veterinarian. Now the other thing, female dogs and cats, inside their uterus, as they mature or age, they get little cysts, like little blisters inside the uterus, and eventually the uterus, as they mature or become older, becomes what they call a cystic uterus. When a dog is getting ready to get pregnant or ovulating, the cervix, the door between the vagina and the uterus opens. And if you're unlucky and bacteria that are in the vagina move through the cervix into the uterus, they may set up an infection, which we call a premature. Now, as a human who owns a dog, what you might see and what you need to watch out for, if your dog bled 1 or 2 months earlier, and then she looked very sick, she didn't want to eat, she's lying around very lethargic, some of them will be drinking excessively. Any of those signs, get your dog to your veterinarian, have them examined and let the vets guide you as to whether there's a premature. Because if there's a premature in there, if that bursts from the uterus into the abdomen, your dog unfortunately can die from that within about 24 hours. Now, if you have got liquid coming out, and you won't always, from the vagina that sort of smells bad or looks a green-yellow colour, then you need to, again, get your vet to check them, because even if it's draining from the vagina, the bacteria are producing chemicals, and some of those chemicals are getting into the bloodstream, and they can damage your dog's kidneys, and your dog can go into kidney failure and die. Now, cats can also get infected uteruses too, so that's the other benefit of having your cat and or your female dog desexed. Now, there's a few old wives' tales out there. There's ones that say, oh, it's good for them to have an ovulation cycle first, or it's good for them to have a litter. In my reading of the scientific literature and the veterinary literature, I haven't found any proof of that, and in my opinion, those are old wives' tales with no science to back them up. Okay, let's move on to the males of the cat and dog species. Boy dogs and boy cats, once they go through puberty, often may want to mark or identify their house and property as belonging to them and not the neighbourhood dogs or cats. So the cats, your tomcats or male cats, they'll start sometimes spraying urine around the outside perimeter of the house or inside your house. They might near the windows, if they feel other cats are coming around, mark the windows with urine to try and tell the other cats, I own this house, go away. Dogs, they'll mark territory. So you take your dog out, they'll urinate on every tree up the street. Well, look, in your house, some of them will start to urinate on door frames or on the kitchen table leg or things like that. So desexing a boy dog or a boy cat extinguishes or stops that behaviour, and if you do it before puberty, it'll probably prevent them actually performing that behaviour. The other benefit, males can get cancer of the testicles. So if your dog or cat's desexed, we surgically remove the testicles so they can't actually get cancer because we've already removed those testicles. Now, the other problem with boy dogs and cats who are not, especially boy dogs who are not desexed, as they get older, the prostate gland, which is a secondary accessory sex organ, it can get bigger. So it can actually get up to 50 times its normal size in an entire male that has not been desexed. It usually takes a number of years before that happens. But if that happens, think, and this is how I think about it, imagine a walnut-sized organ in the body, and imagine it's a balloon, and we start to inflate that and it gets up to 50 times its normal size. That organ then takes up a lot more space than it used to, and it may be squashing or pushing on other structures within the abdomen. And the urethra, which is the pipe from the bladder out through the penis, can get squashed, if you like, so it's harder for them to empty their bladder. They may not be able to urinate easily, or it can push up on the bowel as well, and they may have trouble actually defecating. So by desexing your dog, that avoids the prostate getting enlarged and causing those problems. Now, the other issue, some dogs with enlarged prostate, and enlarged prostate in dogs, we're not so much worried about prostate cancer as we are in humans, but it's what they call prostate hyperplasia, so it's just increased size. But some of these prostates may be prone to infection, and if they get what they call a prostatic abscess, that can be a severe infection that can really make your dog very sick, and in extreme cases can actually kill your dog. Some dogs will get a tumour or a growth on the outside of their anus, in the area we call the perianal region. Now, there's a number of different tumours that cause these growths, but one of those tumours is sensitive to testosterone, and if your dog's not desexed, there's a greater chance of that type of tumour spreading further into the body by not being desexed. And finally, there's a behaviour component too. Some male dogs are overly aggressive. Now, by desexing them sometimes, but not always, it may reduce how aggressive they are either with people or with other dogs. Anyway, these are the benefits of desexing your dog or cat, whether they're male or female. I hope this was either entertaining and ideally educational. And look, if you found it interesting or useful, please share it with your friends and family if they've got pets. Our aim here at Dr. Pawfection is we want to educate pet owners and optimise their pets' health so the pets have a long, healthy, happy life. If you found it interesting or entertaining, please, if you haven't, consider maybe hitting the like button or the subscribe button. It helps YouTube know that the content's useful and will help share it with other dog and cat owners. And if you'd like notifications when we produce new videos, please hit the notification bell, because if you don't, you won't otherwise get notified when we release a new video. Anyway, I appreciate your time, everyone, and have a great day. And if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments section and I'll do my best to get to them as soon as I can. Thanks very much. Have a great day.